So today's agenda, again, as I said, this is going to be 1 hour or less, so it's going to be a quick and brief um, just discussion for us. We're going to have some updates to the identification and screening, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the data indicators and a few more bits of information, and then some question and answer time. So going straight into provisional screener and the remote screener. So here is some information I want to share with you. I'm going to share a different screen here. There we go. So I've been collecting some frequently asked questions about the screener and identification, and these are the results of that. So let me make it a little bit bigger view here. There we go. So the first question, are you seeing these? First question was, how long do districts have to rescreen and place students who were provisionally identified once schools reopen? And at this time, there's no plans to change the placement and timeline for newly enrolled students. So you must provide again within 30 days, just as always. We are not going to come and watch you and make sure that you're doing it. So we'll give you some leeway there, but as soon as possible, that they're face-to-face with you, or if you have the availability to bring parents and students in for that screening, we expect you to do so. They cannot be entered into your core data until they have been fully screened. The second question says, is the guidance of the provisional identification and placement for newly enrolled students for the COVID time or for the current year, and it's going to remain in effect until we get fully face-to-face again. So if you are remote, then that screener is still an option for you. And someone also asked, do we have to go to the WIDA screener now that it's available? And my response to that is, if you're comfortable with the provisional screener that we sent out early on, you can continue utilizing that. Of course, we are a WIDA state, so we would like to have you use the WIDA screener. But if you would prefer to keep using that provisional screener that we provided early on, you may do so. All right. Next question said, should we rescreen students who have been identified provisionally? So you don't have to go back and rescreen them with the WIDA screener, but you do have to give all 4 modalities and give the official screener once you're able. So that's the response to that one. And you should be sending out a notification to parents, even if you give the provisional screener, to let them know that you have provisionally placed them in for services and that they will be receiving some sort of services. The next question, how did the levels relate? There is no correlation with standard scores or our 1 to 6 levels. It's just a provisional recognition that they are possibly able for services. So there's no alignment there with that. How will the districts make provisional determination if the parents do not want their students to be evaluated? So we've had that situation come up several times, that the parents just don't want to bring them in, or they don't want to mess with the online or anything like that. And then in that case, use your language use survey and your phone conversation to provisionally place them based on that information. But as soon as you're able, go ahead and give that screener. Next question, how does this provisional placement process account for students who would score low in some domains and high in others? It's just going to be like in the past. You're just going to have to look at the overall score and it's just a provisional judgment, so make your judgment as an overall basis. Next question, if a parent submits a request for translation and interpretation with the language use survey, can they does that mean that we can just go ahead and classify them as a non-English speaker and forego the screener? And no, parents and students may have different abilities, so you still have to give that screener or the provisional screener. And some districts have asked if the student will be placed in core data with this provisional screening. So no, we have no way of keeping that information, but we do highly recommend that you have some sort of data system of collecting that information so that you'll know which students need to be assessed when school starts, and having that in a central location in case they change schools or something like that. What are required qualifications for the staff to give the provisional screener? And it should be the same qualifications for giving the regular screener. That, sorry, we need to let somebody in the room. Okay, so it should be the same qualifications as the regular screener. They need to know how to they need to know how to use the speaking rubric and how to evaluate and make that judgment of whether the student would qualify or not. Next question, should districts stop using the WIDA screener during the period of school closure? And no, if you are able to do that face-to-face screening, then go ahead and do that. We expect that to be done as soon as possible. Can parents complete the language use survey on Google or other systems? Yes. So any way that you can get that information filled out, whether it's by phone, whether it's virtually through a chat room or something like that, you can do so that way. How are we notified about students who have enrolled? That's kind of a district procedure. You're going to have to check with your central office and find out a way to be notified if a potential ESL student has been enrolled. And if the language use survey is completed digitally, do we have to get a signature? And again, that's whatever your district policy is. So if your district requires you to get that signature, then you follow what district procedure would be. How will we use this year's access results? Well, they were given at the same time and in the same manner without any different scenarios this year, so they should be able to be utilized as we have in the past. And then someone else also asked if we were going to have a remote access test this year. And I will tell you that WIDA is working on that, but they are making no promises. So they haven't ruled it out as an option, and they are looking for opportunities, but they have not yet decided on anything. All right, so let me go back to the presentation. And there we go. Should be, we're back to the other screen, and I'm on the wrong one. There we go. All right. So the next thing, the data indicators. And as far as our data indicators go, they are not quite ready yet. Drew is working on cleaning them up and sorting them, and it's hoped that they'll be available at the end of September, but he's waiting on some other information from other sources before he can send those out. Again, our access tests were taken at the same time in the same conditions, so we should be able to use that data in the same manner as we always have, as far as providing that snapshot to your school and your district of how your students are doing and how they are doing this year compared to other years. So we hope to get those to you sooner than later, but they aren't quite ready yet. As soon as they are ready, we'll have that little workshop on how to use your data indicators that Drew put together so well in the past, or not Drew, Ryan. and Ryan and Drew working together put together. So we'll have an update to that and put that out as soon as it's available. All right, so the next thing I want to touch on is our male regional specialists, and I'm happy that they were able to join us today. So I'm going to ask, I know Rob's here and Marika and Julie. So I want to ask each of them if they'll give us a little update on things going on in their regions, if there is anything that you can report out on. And I see Rob first. So Rob, is there anything going on in your male region that you'd like to let people know about?
Sure. So hello, everybody. I'm Rob Greenhaw. I'm the male instructional specialist for St. Louis, St. Charles area. Basically, our region is it's looking like majority of schools are doing an all virtual start. There's some hybrid where it's half in person, half virtual, and then really only a few doing a 5-day in-person option. Some districts are starting today, and some kind of pushed back their start date. I think really the only news I have is our Elevate conference that we have in person in October. Unfortunately, we had to postpone it, so we're planning some type of virtual offering, but we don't quite have a date for that yet. So unfortunately, our Elevate conference won't be happening October 6th and 7th as planned, but I still am hopeful we'll have some kind of virtual conference, which I hope will be good. So Cammie, if not to talk too much, but could you, just to clarify, I feel like we had the provisional identification of English learners that came out in April from DESE, your guidance. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, WIDA released a remote screener tool.
Right.
Our current, or DESE's current recommendation is to use the WIDA remote screener tool. However, if you already had a process in place, you don't necessarily have to switch to the WIDA remote screener. Right. But regardless of what's going on, you're saying you do have to do the regular WAPT or WIDA online screener at some point in order to officially identify a student as an English learner. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. And we would prefer that you use the provisional screener that we provided or the WIDA remote screener and not something outside of that. One of those two options.
Okay, and then one more thing, are you going to be able to share the frequently asked questions in your?
Yes, I am going to share when I put the recording out, I'm going to share this PowerPoint with all of the links and everything so everyone has access to them. And that will be by the end of the week, those will be ready to be shared. Okay.
All right, good deal. Nice to see everyone.
Rob, is there anything going to be going on as far as virtual meetings or anything for your region?
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot. I don't have dates, but we have.
Okay.
I have a book study starting September 24th. We're going to do Breaking Down the Wall. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. We still have our co-teaching for English learners cohort starting sometime in September. Most things are starting in September, and I'm not sure of my dates, but that's
fine.
But I'll share them with you, and you can push them out for me, maybe.
Wonderful. Okay.
All right.
And I saw America's on here. America, is there anything going on in your region that you want to let people know about and be aware of?
Just kind of same thing as Rob. I have a lot that is in the works. I'm getting ready to put that information out. Been spending really the last week just trying to clean up my mailing list and get all my kind of contacts together. Most of the schools in my area are going 5 days, but then we've had a lot of schools that last minute have had to go all virtual. So my first plan of action is just to kind of get some notification out there and just see what everybody's doing, what most of their ELDs are doing, if I'm allowed to come in the district, if they want any in-person trainings. But I have some book studies planned and 2 or 3 different topics that I'm going to kind of be running as a series, and same as Rob, still tweaking that, and I'll have all those dates out probably within the next week.
Awesome. And Julie, in your region, anything you want to let your members know about?
Our districts are starting, lots of them this week. Some have pushed back for a couple of weeks. We at the RPDC have been under kind of a travel ban at this point, but that's been lifted so that I can go into districts, and I do have some appointments in the next couple of weeks as teachers get back. So we're moving kind of slowly. I do have my ELD regional Zooms that we're going to start resuming starting September the 25th. And then we have a few more dates with that. So we're slowly starting back. And at that September meeting, we're going to make some plans and see what the teachers who do attend are looking for as far as professional development. And from that, we'll do a few virtual meetings or Zoom meetings to be specific. We have a lot of personal go in and help small districts is what I've been doing mostly recently. And so I'm always here for the people in the Southeast region.
All right. So for everyone on the meeting today, these are your email addresses of your regional specialists. And if you are in there, and if you are wanting some professional development or needing some assistance, I encourage you to contact them, because all of these persons are very knowledgeable and very able to meet your needs. So give them a call or email them and ask for their assistance. That's why they're there. And they're very able and capable of helping you. So look for some information to come from them. And we have a couple of questions that have come in the chat room. One was about kindergarten, and the kindergarten, you pretty much have to give the WAPT for kindergarten. The screener is not really geared towards them. So they will have to take the listening and speaking portion, and they only take the listening, speaking, and reading. They only take the listening and speaking anyway at the beginning of kindergarten. So that could be done remotely, I would think. As far as provisionally screening them, you don't formally screen them in all four modalities until second semester anyway. And at that time, hopefully we can get them in to do that if you're wanting to exit them. They're kind of provisionally screened until you give all four domains anyway. So, and another question said, do we provide EL services to those who choose online option through the district's approved vendors? Yes. We are required to provide services in the same venue that we are, same avenue that we have until now, no matter what the venue is. So we need to make some kind of arrangements to provide them for services if they are needed. It says, if yes, how would it look like? That's going to be kind of the focus of our next get together, or you can contact one of the MEL personnel or myself, and we will help you to get some ideas. And there'll be some other options here in a little bit that I'll share with you for some ideas on how and what that should look like. Another question, if I did it virtually, I would have parents share the information with all the other parents. That's true. That's a possibility. Again, the best situation would be to find a way to do the face-to-face and bring them in. It is not a perfect plan, and by no means, but we will adapt as best we can. All right, move on. So one thing we've come to find out in these last few months is that we all need each other. And first thing I want to repeat is contact your male regional specialist, and that's what they're there for. We also have the Edmodo group that has been sharing a lot of information, and we opened it up for kind of a discussion of what's going on in your district, what help do you need, what questions could we answer. There are a lot of capable people on the group that are happy to answer your questions. I saw Daisy's here, and Daisy's been very helpful and active in that respect as well. We also have a Facebook and Twitter group, so follow along with those. Anytime there's something that comes across my desk or something that I see that I think is worthy of being shared, I send out to all three of those areas. America is asking a question about parents who have chosen homeschool option. So homeschooling is different because we are not required to monitor or assist with homeschooling. So you do not have to screen or assess homeschool students. I hope that clarified that.
Tammy?
Yes.
There was another question in the chat. Someone asked about a student coming from another state that maybe wasn't able to complete their access testing, so they don't have a score report, how we might place those students.
So if they had a previous year's score, you could look at that as far as placement to give you an idea, and provisionally screen them that way. And we have placed students based on 1 year previous scores before. So that would be an option there.
Okay.
Okay. Next thing I wanted to share is that we have a wealth of information on the DESE website, and I kind of wanted to walk you through a few of those documents real quickly in case you weren't aware of them. So we'll try this screen sharing again. What's up with my computer all of a sudden? But here we go. So hopefully you're seeing the Missouri website here. This is, we finally got the approval to put a calendar on our DESE website. So like today's session, you can click on the dates and it will take you to a registration where you can register for any of the coursework. And you're welcome to register for any content area or any information that you want. Anything that appears on the calendar is planned to be recorded and available for later viewing if you're unable to watch it at the time that it's taking place. So that's a nice addition to our website. Another thing that we have that I wanted to bring to your attention were the supports for remote teaching and learning. This was on there since the beginning of the COVID, and each content area has listed some sites that you can go to assist you in remote learning. The next thing I wanted to look at was the task force for learning acceleration. And this was a joint effort between DESE and many stakeholders from across the state, both in education and businesses and organizations. The end result were these task force recommendations that they made them for themselves, and the districts all came together and provided some information for other districts to utilize. We also have task force recommendations that they would like to see DESE to carry out. And so that list there is for the recommendations that they wished us to pursue, and we have met a few of those already. One of the ones that we've already worked on is this acceleration for learning site, and I want to go to it. It's one of my favorite tools that we developed, and it tells you what is acceleration of learning in relation to remediation. It's not remediation, it's something completely different. And it gives you the key components. And then there are some sample accelerated lessons that do include some ELD information in them as well. There are some examples from other school districts that you can look at and get some ideas. It talks about the MOLEAP blocks, which are in the process of development. Some of them are ready to go. And then it comes to the AMI migration maps. These are a wonderful set of ideas that you can use. It gives you like the teacher move, what the instruction would look like, and whether it would be remote or virtual, and as far as the activity, what you could do in both of those areas. They're very well done. And then we have a remote learning plan for families, a template that you can use to help your district plan out the remote sessions that if necessary. And then this is one of our favorite documents. Learning should look less like this and more like this in a remote situation. Then it has the amount of time that should be given to remote and distance learning. Some supports for families, some tutorials for technology, and then the references that were used in creating the document. So it's a very well put together document. And I already talked about the AMIs and the acceleration of learning. Another thing that was really, that's a really good place to go on the website was from our DESE professional learning series that took place this summer. So we are still working on that integrated approach with all content areas working together to promote language acquisition and integrated learning throughout the different content areas. So ELA, Science, Social Studies, and I got together and did a full day for different grade levels, and those are all recorded and all of the resources are listed there. So you can go back and view those again and watch from any of the grade levels or the different days. We had TNPT that came and talked to us about the learner myth. And that was very interesting. And we had Missouri Writing Project also presented on that day. Then there's math, PE, skill-based health, and dyslexia. The PE has some wonderful bilingual resources on it as well. So I encourage you to look at those. They're all, again, very well put together and worth the time it took. And then there's a new link on our website that was just added today, which is the early connections. And there are some resources for Spanish speaking parents on there as well. I took a little time and looked at that this afternoon. So those are all resources that we have available through DESE that I encourage you to look at, things that you may not have been aware of. All right. Again, these are some of the things that I've spoken about today. The frequently asked questions, there's a link to that. Provisional identification of placement, that's on our DESE website for ELs. And then these next 4 items are drafts that I have been working on, and I wanted to kind of show those to you real quickly. So let me, are you seeing, oh, open with Google Docs. So are you seeing this blueprint for English learner success? So this is just going over the kind of the vision for our state for English learners. American brought this to my attention from another state, and we kind of adapted it to fit Missouri. So we have 4 separate pillars. One is school culture, and then access to educators that are qualified to teach, opportunity and support for our English learners, and then plans for future success. So that document is there for you to look at. And then there's a document on planning and providing, let me get that up. Planning and providing remote learning for English learners. And it starts out with information from a recent workshop that I went to with Department of Education and Department of Justice and a couple of other agencies working together to come up with some guidance for moving forward into the new year. So the first one is regarding their civil rights, and then there's a document on specific for ELs in this time of outbreak and what's required of our schools. Then there's a link to news and information on English learners with disabilities. And then this goes and breaks down how collaboration with the teachers and what's required of your program, and how to amplify the student voice, how to chunk instruction. And then at the end, there's a list of different resources that have been vetted, most of them vetted by WIDA themselves and how they align with our WIDA standards. So that was a document from them. And then another one on supporting our families, English language learners, and things that we can do. And then there are some links to multilingual resources for your parents. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was something I've utilized in the past, but I've seen it come up on social media again, are these proficiency level cards. And I usually printed them out on different colored cardstock and provided them to any teacher that had an English language learner in their classroom. So this could definitely be shared remotely and used by your teachers, whoever is serving an ESL student. So these are all going to be available for your use. All right, so that comes to the part of questions. So any other questions that you have that I haven't gotten to in the chat? I'm going to open it up and let you just ask. So unmute if you'd like to and ask away. And yes, these will be shared out as soon as we finish here. I'll have them out to you by the end of the week. They're not housed anywhere right now. They're on my computer. So as soon as I have them where I can share them out to you, I will. I have to get some of them approved before I officially share them out. So
at this point, is access still on schedule for the January to March timeline?
that is what they are saying at this time. I had a meeting with them last week, and that's what they're still hoping to do. So again, like I said, they are looking into a remote access test, but they're kind of dragging their feet. They don't want it to happen, but they are looking.
Cammie,
Yes, sir.
could you tell us, as far as provisionally identifying English learners and then this, the October sort of reporting,
Yes.
reporting the number of English learner students to the state, how do you see this playing out? And maybe that's a question for you or Sean or whoever.
Okay. And I think Sean is on the line here. So Sean, if you're here, can you answer that one? Yeah, there you are.
Wow, finish the question, Rob.
So I guess the issue would be if we have if a district has a large number of provisionally identified English learners and for some reason isn't able to actually meet in person and do the WIDA screener, how, I guess when they're reporting their number of English learners to the state, how would they account for those provisionally identified English learners?
Well, they're going to, in the October count, provide us with the English learners they've identified as English learners. not the provisional ones. That's what we've said. Now, throughout the year, there are other options. There are other times when data is submitted and there's opportunities to recertify data. That's basically go back to that October count and report it accurately. So there's gonna be opportunities to add those children in as they become identified, because you're gonna want them, if they were in school in through the month of September, that last Thursday, September, last Tuesday, whatever that day is that we're looking at reporting, we want to make sure they get counted for Title III purposes and other purposes. So that's really we're looking at this upon as a temporary situation. But districts can go back and recertify data. We actually have it every year, because we'll start doling out Title III money, and we'll have districts who want to know where their money is, and we'll figure out that they didn't report the data correctly. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be opportunities to go back and recertify that, or immigrant, or any of those other counts that we have.
Okay.
Does that answer that question?
Yeah. So basically, there'll be more chances even after that October count where they can adjust their numbers in order to get.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We want it to wind up being as accurate as possibly can, but we also don't want children identified who haven't been identified per the law in all four modalities.
Right. So we need to get that screener done as soon as possible. And as soon as you have it done, you can put your students in. Right, John?
That is right.
All right. And then Ryan put a question here. How do we code students? So Department of Education is saying that those scaffolds and supports and tech features and everything that you're doing in the regular content area can count as our ELD. First of all, he said, is there a list of this somewhere? I don't think that I have seen an actual list, Ryan, but I'm thinking if you are utilizing that, there has to be some sort of co-planning, collaboration, co-teaching going on with your ELD instructor. So online course, yeah. So I'm thinking that would probably be a co-teaching situation. Depending on it, again, it'll depend on how you set up your class structure. So, but I'm thinking if you're working with a classroom teacher and they're presenting that through their classroom, you'd have to put it in as co-teaching. That would be my guess. Does that make sense? I would put it as ELD coaching, yes. Any other questions? We've got about 10 minutes.
Well, I have a question. So WIDA, sorry,
Let's go, Rob.
WIDA was messing around with a new kindergarten screener to replace the WAPT.
Yes.
It looks like that didn't.
No, it is a go. It's there. But because of everything that's going on, they, instead of releasing it this year, they're going to hold off and release it at the beginning of next school year. We will, that's another good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to make sure everyone looks to our WIDA, or to our DESE website in the near future. We do have some upcoming e-learning opportunities through WIDA. And one of the upcoming opportunities is going to be looking at that kindergarten screener and going through and finding out how to utilize it. So that's going to be something offered free. And there are some other things. We have all of those e-learning courses that were available last year. They've added 4 or 5 more to that. But they are not offering at all any face-to-face training this year. So everything that they're doing is virtual. They have looked at them because we had a big discussion this summer when we met. And one of the things I said was they're too long and too arduous, and people get tired of doing them before they finish. And so they took a big, long look at them. Mine was not the only comment that they received similar to that. So they looked at them and they pared them down and made them shorter and made them more interactive. And I got to look at a few of them, and I think you will like them a little bit better. They're all going to be offered through Canvas. And they said they had a lot of people that started them, and it only took them 30 minutes to get to the end of them when they were like designed to be 4 or 5 hour courses. So they were looking for ways to rectify that and make them more user friendly, and so people get more out of them. We have that opportunity, and then I think we have 6 other that are going to be interactive with a facilitator. So it's not on your own pace, it's another person there leading us and guiding us and providing us with information. Any other? The WIDA standards, the new 2020 standards are also coming out. That was kind of, it was set to be released at the beginning of this school year. They're going to release those now in December. And we will have a face-to-face virtual training on the WIDA standards as well. And that will be in the spring. The screener, the kindergarten screener, and the 2020 standards will have a webinar, interactive webinar in the springtime. Any other questions? All right. Well, if you will, I'm going to put this link. Whoops, no, I'm not. There is a link here that I will send out for this presentation. We always have to have an evaluation to make sure it was worth your while. So I'll ask you to fill that out for me. And any time that you need assistance from me, I am here and very willing to answer your phone calls or your email messages. You can contact me anytime through my email, through Facebook, through Twitter, or through Edmodo. And this last slide is telling you how to join the Edmodo group if you're not in there. Between these monthly check-ins, send your questions to one of those areas, and that will give us an idea of what we discuss when we come together. And it'll give me a little time to look up some answers to questions that I may not have the answer to right away, putting me on the spot like I did my mail people today. So if you give me some questions ahead of time, I'm happy to look those up and or find some resources or get some things together for you before our next monthly check-in. And that is all I have today, and we're 5 minutes before an hour. So you have 5 minutes to ask any other of those burning questions. Otherwise, we are done for today. And thank you all for joining me with this first check-in. I really appreciate you being here.
Could you put up the information about the Edmodo?
I will. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm sharing the wrong screen. I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
There you go. Hopefully, is that on the screen now?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So you just go to edmodo.com and it'll ask for a code. You put this XWECYM in as your code. Or you can email me at my email address and I am happy to send it to you. I'll send you this page. So if that doesn't work for you. I guess you didn't see my other fun page here. So, and I will share out this link, or if you want it, it's kind of long, but I'll share this out to you as well. And then there's my information. I'm glad to see all of you. I've missed your faces and getting to see you in person, but with restrictions, with travel and COVID, this may be the way we do things for a little while, but it's better than not seeing you, and it's great to see all these faces virtually. All right, well, if there are no other questions, Thank you again for being here, and I look forward to seeing you all next month. Thanks again.